GIS is also improving our businesses, the way we manage our businesses. As the economy grows here, it's also getting more competitive. So businesses themselves want to place their business in the right location. They want to be better competitors, not just, let's say, in a global scale, but also in a local scale. And GIS is definitely helping that happen. One of the other things about GIS that is emerging is the idea that there are connections between the environment and human health. In fact, at Expo yesterday, they actually have not just an infrastructure mission to supply water, make it easier for us to have an essential piece of our livelihood, but also they're improving human health. So it's this interaction between the environment, clean water, lower infant mortality, a direct relationship. Well, there are many other relationships like this, and we're now beginning to understand those. We talked about defense and homeland security. Well, there's the everyday life also. How do we respond to fires? If there's specific types of crime in this area, how can we break that pattern and make a safer place? How can we track individual criminals? How can we see how that impacts the overall pattern and the safety? How can we actually publish that information to the public so they're also aware of safe neighborhoods and maybe those neighborhoods that are not so safe? We talked about natural disasters. These are happening all the time. We actually see the feeds. How can we take these feeds and understand more about them, use them better, integrate them within, as Aeneas described, this whole integration of information to help us plan, to help us respond, to help us recover. One of the other things that's emerging, actually, there's a very large segment of our population that already knows about this. Some of you are part of the generation. Well, I'm not part of that generation, so I have a lot to learn from you. This idea about social media and people and citizens engaging through all kinds of things. They tell their life stories, you know, from right here. I have a short story about my daughter. When she went off to college a few years ago, her mobile phone was on a family plan. And all of a sudden, the bill came to me at the end of the month. And I looked on there, and I was shocked. Oh, my God. 6,000 text messages in a month. Ooh. I made a big mistake. I did not get unlimited text messages. That was a big mistake. And I called her up. I should have texted her, but I called her, and I said, what's this, 6,000 text messages? She said, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's about right. I get all of these. I said, well, how does that happen? Twitter. I have my Twitter feeds. I have my dog group and my horses group, and I have 2 study groups. And, of course, I talk to all my friends this way. Oh, wow. How many of you do that? Nobody's going to admit to it. 6,000 text messages. Anyway, the whole idea here is this is a new way that we're going to work together. And if you don't believe it, this is going to make a huge difference. We watched it in the Arab Spring, as it's called. It's still happening. An entire new form of government was formed on social media. So this, to me, is one of the most significant things that we're going to see. All of this information is coming together. We're creating regional and national GIS infrastructure. It's happening slowly in the US. It's happening actually much more quickly in Russia, along with new open data policies. They recognize that this is a new type of infrastructure that they need to be competitive and to build their society. Same thing is happening in China, in Switzerland, Indonesia. India just passed new legislation and is funding $200 million of new infrastructure, a national GIS for India. Abu Dhabi says they can't realize their 2030 vision without GIS. So, what is really the vision about GIS? If we can have better understanding, a more common vision, better collaboration, then perhaps we can help solve some of our biggest challenges. We're already working on the problems independently, but how do we begin to do this on a more holistic way? How can we collaborate? Actually, I would say that we actually need our collective knowledge and our collective understanding to solve these most difficult problems. So what is understanding? Understanding is about knowing. It's a very human thing. Humans know things. You recognize things. When you see them happen over and over through experience, then you begin to understand. It's a way that we put things together, and then we can actually relate to each other a little bit better. GIS actually begins to extend our minds. This is pretty interesting. People have told me that, the governor of Abu Dhabi actually said, GIS is an extension of all of us. It helps us feel. It helps us see. It helps us sense everything. And it really does extend our minds so we can actually achieve a vision. So GIS provides us a framework for understanding. We actually use GIS. You use GIS in very practical ways. You use it on your own to do individual maps and analysis, and maybe you share that a little bit with a small group of friends. We actually work together in work groups to facilitate communication and collaboration. And something that's happening more is we're working between groups, between organizations, to break down barriers, remove institutional challenges, cross cultures, cross disciplines, so we can begin to collaborate and actually solve these problems. So GIS actually becomes a language that helps us better understand each other. GIS is also changing rapidly. It is co-evolving with many other emerging technologies and enabling technologies. So many things are being measured. We have satellites in the sky. We have LiDAR things and vehicles that are on the street taking measurements of all the buildings and the pavement and the sidewalks and the signs and everything. We see data itself of all different types begin to be integrated. We're accessing it over the web. New methods of crowdsourcing that we've already discussed here. Also, issues are arising about privacy and how we protect that, but also volumes and volumes of information that come together. Computing, of course, Moore's Law, still is in effect. Faster computers, lower price, more ubiquitous,